is our problem. We have to look to ourselves and decide what is wrong. You know, one of the excuses they use for us to be in the Middle East, the neoconservatives say, well, we have an obligation. We are an exceptional nation. We have exceptional values, and there's no Soviet Union, so now we're king of the world, and we have this obligation to spread our goodness around the world, even if we have to use force. I think that makes no sense whatsoever. Wilson's making the world safe for democracy also. It's a reminder of the Jacobins in the French Revolution. You'll do it our way. We want to do all these wonderful good things and create this beautiful democracy. And if you don't do what we tell you, we chop your head off. And there is a better way, because I happen to have strong beliefs that our country is, at least in the past, and we have a good history. We have a history of great constitution. Once we're the wealthiest country in the world. We had the biggest middle class. And we have been exceptional in many ways, and we still have a lot of exceptional values. And I want to spread them. And my suggestion is that we restore that confidence in our freedoms and restore our confidence in our laws and our Constitution. Make ourselves a society that people will respect and they will want to emulate. Set a good standard of sound money and property rights. I sometimes use a medical term. I think it's schizophrenic, because how many friendly dictators did we have that we turned around later on we had to fight? Bin Laden was on our side one time, Saddam Hussein was on our one side, Noriega's been on our side one time. It's on and on. How about Mubarak? How many billions of dollars did the American people have to send to the dictator of Egypt? And then, that fell down. We had to help the dissidents, and then we throw him out. And now I think, as far as buying friendship for Israel, I think that's worse than ever. And guess what? The people taking over Egypt right now are infiltrated with Al-Qaeda, as it is in Libya, as it is in Syria. So this is why the founders were correct. There's no authority for us to do, and the founders were correct. Mind our own business, stay out of the internal affairs of all other nations. Would say, oh, people that believe in that, you're a bunch of isolationists. You don't want to deal with the world. You don't want to be involved. But that isn't true, because those very individuals that might throw that term out at us as isolationists are the ones who always want to use sanctions. They want to put sanctions on countries, on Syria, on Iran, and cause trouble, hurt the people. Maybe the people then will overthrow their government. But the whole thing is you put on sanctions, you hurt the people. They know who did it, and they more likely hate Americans, not their own. And then they come together for a sense of nationalism. Those individuals who talk about us being isolationists, they're the ones who after 50 years don't want to talk to Castro and don't want to work with Cuba. I think it's time we talk to the Cubans and trade with Cubans and travel. About a schizophrenic foreign policy, I think the worst example is with Pakistan. Because my claim used to be that we have two policies, we have two options. We go to them, and if they buy into what we offer and we prop up their dictator, we give them a lot of money. If they don't do what we want, then we bomb them. So we have an offer, either money or bombs. And of course, I want a little bit of diplomacy and a little bit of friendship. But what we do with Pakistan is we give money to the government of Pakistan, and we constantly bomb the people. I mean, we do both together. And then we wonder why, and that causes a conflict between the people. They hate their government, and then they say, well, it's unstable in Pakistan. Well, it's an unstable society to begin with, but I don't think we're helping out a whole lot by assuming war on the world, war on terrorism, global war on terrorism. And with these drones going around the world, we claim that we can hit any spot, and they have the technology to do it. Obama wanted to be so adamant about it and brag about it. He says, we have the authority now. If we have an American citizen and we can't quite capture him, we can just assassinate him with a drone, and that's what they have done. Not only that, he knew another family member of that family, and he was told, well, the family member knows all about it. He's part of the problem. He was born an American citizen also, and he was 16 years old. He was assassinated while he was barbecuing with his cousin. And this is made law of the land under an executive order. Those are the kind of laws that a constitutional president would never obey and would repeal them by another. We have drifted a long way from the Constitution and what the founders advised us. Foreign policy is a big, big issue. And 70% of the American people now, guess what? They agree with this position. They say, come on, we've had enough of Afghanistan. I remember so clearly the 60s because I was drafted in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis as well as during the Vietnam period. I was in for 5 years. And it was a utter tragedy. 60,000 Americans died, and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, came back. And even later on, as a physician and in Congress, I had to deal with and continue to deal with veterans not getting benefits from even wars back as far as Vietnam. And what about the men and women coming back from the injuries now from Iraq and Afghanistan? They're not getting well treated. There's an epidemic of suicide. We're losing more military personnel from suicide now from the battlefield. The best thing to do is to use the term stop the bleeding, stop the wars, and then concentrate. This is one area that we do have a moral obligation and a constitutional authority to take care of those individuals we sent over erroneously and badly. But I went because I believe, like so many of us, it is our duty to try to do our very best. But really, the responsibility falls on those individuals in the government. And I've told my veterans back at home that, you know, yes, I was drafted, I went and did my very best, but I've learned to disapprove of our foreign policy. But now, having been in Washington, I voted in the Congress on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I have a different obligation to stand up and tell people. So this is what I did as early as 1998. They were changing the law. They changed the law and said the law now is to overthrow Saddam Hussein. That was the first speech I gave in 1998. Invading Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. Al-Qaeda was there and they had weapons of mass destruction. And here's an individual that we were allies with. Iraq got their first nuclear reactor years before with our help. But and then we wonder about why we're doing so poorly with relationship with the Iranians. Well, of course, in 1953, what did we do? We overthrew an elected leader, Mossadegh. And Americans seem to have no memory, but the Arab and Muslims seem to never forget. And they remember, and that is what prompted the 1978 overthrow of the Shah. So, but what else did we do later on to sort of antagonize and stir up this problem over there is that we instigated and supported Saddam Hussein, you know, in invasion of and fighting for about 8 or 9 years against the Iranians. The Iranians know this. So this, it just makes no sense. It is coming to an end. Even when I talk to audience and that I know they disagree with me, no, we're defending America, we're defending our Constitution, we're defending our freedoms. And I say, well, you can argue that. I said, but I'll tell you what, we're going to win the argument. Our side will win